Hmm. Nah. Hello! So, I have just literally finished watching Hellraiser Judgment, which is the 10th, the 10th movie, the 10th movie in the Hellraiser series. Personally, I'll give you a little bit of my experience with the Hellraiser movies. Part 1, awesome. Part 2, just as awesome. I see Part 1 and Part 2 as just kind of a combination. Part 3, it starts to get a little iffy. But still, kind of cool. But, I could do without CD Head or Barbie Cenobite. But, whatever. Part 4 starts... Part 4, they take it to space. It's not too bad. There is some issues with it for sure. Part 5, Inferno, Hellraiser Inferno. Definitely a film that not a lot of people like. It's kind of back and forth. I personally love Hellraiser Inferno. I've seen it so many times. It's ridiculous how many times I've seen it. Hellraiser Hellseeker. Dean Winters, Ashley Lawrence is back as Kirsty. That's kind of cool to kind of waste her character a little bit. Not really sure I like where they went with it, with her character. But still, it's pretty cool. Hellraiser Deader. That's actually a really good one as well. It was originally written as a different story. Of course, most of those direct-to-video sequels were always written as something else and then kind of turned into a Hellraiser movie. But Hellraiser Deader was cool. Carrie whatever her name is. She was good in it. Kind of like how they tied it into the Le Marchand, the guy that made the puzzle box, kind of tied it into that. So after Deader, filmed at the same time, I think it was Rick Botta directed the Deader, was the next one, Hellraiser Hellworld, which sucks donkey dick. It's really terrible. Don't think anyone should ever watch it. Has Lance Henriksen in it, who is there for the paycheck. Doug Bradley, who's there for the paycheck, as Pinhead. They make fun of Hellraiser fans. Not a huge fan of that. It's kind of like Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where it takes place outside of the films. The films are referenced, but then they kind of try to tie it in. It makes no sense. And then we got the 9th movie, which was Hellraiser Revelations, which was written by Gary Tunnicliffe, who does write and direct Hellraiser Judgment. I personally actually liked Revelations. I mean, it's super low budget. It's pretty terrible acting in it. But I liked it. I like how it felt like... It actually really feels like a Hellraiser film. Of course, we all know Doug Bradley does not come back for Hellraiser Revelations. The guy they got playing Pinhead, he looks ridiculous. He really looks ridiculous, and the voice is terrible. And then we kind of went a long time without any films, and then we eventually got to the 10th one, Hellraiser Judgment. Doug Bradley does not come back again. This time it's Paul T. Taylor, who actually does a really good job as Pinhead. His voice modulation kind of thing they did to it after the fact could be toned down a little bit, but overall he actually is really good as Pinhead. I would actually like to see him continue on. Like I said, Gary Tunnicliffe has written and directed the film, and the story behind it is it kind of goes into more of the history, like into the mythology of what Hellraiser is and the factions and different stuff like that. You have like Pinhead, and then you have these assessors, the Auditor, who is an amazing character. It's played by Gary Tunnicliffe. Really awesome character, new character they've added. It's a really cool character. He's the Auditor, and they mention that like new age technology, there's not as much, not evil, but like sin is different, and people aren't playing with the puzzle box and stuff like that, and so they're just too busy with their phones, right? So they're thinking of different ways that they're gonna kind of seek out evil and stuff like that. So they start sending letters to like serial killers, and that kind of gets them to come to a house. The house is It's the same address as the original house in Hellraiser. It's like 55 Ludwig Street or something like that. And so the auditor assesses the serial killer, types on a typewriter in the person's blood, and then if they're deemed guilty in this really disgusting way that they determine if they're guilty or not. It's kind of gross. It involves vomit, but it also involves some topless chicks with flesh ripped off their face, but still they're topless, big boobs. And so that's kind of cool. So that's like just the beginning of it. And then it kind of gets into the main story, which is a serial killer is killing people, and you're following the detectives. And, you know, it kind of seems like it might be like a Hellraiser Inferno detective, Hellraiser kind of thing with the puzzle box and everything like that. But it doesn't. It actually kind of goes away from that. I know it's been mentioned that it's kind of like Seven. It was 7 Deadly Sins. This time it's the 10 Commandments. But it kind of does its own thing. And then they kind of tie back into the beginning. Like, I don't really want to ruin anything because, I mean, it's a brand new movie and I want people to watch it. There's a couple cool twists that I didn't see coming. Not sure if I'm a fan of the Christianity that was brought into it. Thought it was a little, I don't know. I read the Scarlet Gospels, Clive Barker's new kind of continuation of the Hellbound Heart. I did not like it. I did not like the Scarlet Gospels. I'm sorry, but Pinhead to me does not go around raping and like swearing and everything like that, and the whole Jesus Christ fight and stuff. So this movie does kind of bring in some Christianity into it. To me, Hellraiser never felt like a Christianity kind of film. It always felt like something different. Like this is like, it's hell, but it's a different kind of hell. It's not the Christian type hell. But, you know, they kind of bring that in with like an angel and stuff like that. But Pinhead has this kind of some cool scenes near the end that really works well. As for the end is not good. I personally find the end terrible. I've read some comments that people like the end. They kind of like where they're going to go with it. If he shot it maybe a little different so it wasn't so cheap looking, maybe I could have got along with it, but it seems to come on really quick. It's like, the ending, boom, just comes right at you, and you're like, you don't have time to process what you just saw, and you're like, whoa, why didn't you end it just a few seconds before? So yeah, the ending I definitely didn't like. There is some pacing issues with the film. Kind of drags a little bit at times. There's definitely some low budget, set pieces. Would I have liked a little more Hellraiser type action? Yeah, of course. Of course, we all know what happens when you get too much Hellraiser action. You get Hellraiser 3. But still, I kind of miss those days with, the kind of really Hellraiser stuff. I mean, still though, it's not a bad film. I wouldn't call it a bad film. I've seen some harsh reviews towards it. But I've also seen people that really enjoyed it. I personally think Gary Tunnicliffe did a great job in the budget and time that he had. He didn't have a lot of time, didn't have a lot of money. It was actually shot in 2016, kind of sat on the shelf for a while, the whole Dimension Harry Weinstein kind of stuff. So it kind of sat there for a while, which probably, I don't know if it actually hurt it, because actually, it might have hurt it, because if he released it not too long after Revelations, I think a lot of people would have been like, wow, this is so much better than Revelations, that there probably would have been more positivity towards it. But waiting until 2018, we were kind of dying for a Hellraiser film, and once the Hellraiser remake was canceled, people kind of got a little disappointed, and people are also getting kind of angry that the only reason they're making Hellraiser sequels is because Dimension wants the rights to it. They want to keep the rights. They don't want it to go back to anyone. So, oh, jeez. But anyways, Hellraiser Judgment, definitely, it's no part 1 and part 2 for sure, but I would rank it up there as one of the more solid direct-to-video releases. I'm kind of biased because I do like most of the direct-to-videos. It's definitely better than Revelations. It shits all over Hellworld. Anything shits over Hellworld. I kind of rank it in with the other ones. Like, I still prefer, like Bloodline and stuff like that. But, it's still a really good really cool movie. Like Gary Tunnicliff he really expands on the mythology, and he has a lot of things that he's added to it that could definitely be expanded further. So let's hope he gets another chance to do that. Let's hope he does. As for the Blu-ray, it's a Lionsgate Blu-ray. There's nothing super special about it. I mean, it looks all right. The budget's, like I said, it's a little low, so the Blu-ray kind of, I don't know, it doesn't look super sharp, but, you know, it's not too bad. There's some deleted scenes, which last like 6 minutes, but they're kind of pointless scenes. One takes place in a church, not much happens. And then it kind of expands the opening scene a little bit, shows a little more boobs, which, hey, you know, cool. And then we have a gag reel, which, you know, gag reels are fun, you laugh. There's some Spanish subtitles, some English subtitles, but that's it. The movie's 81 minutes. That's the cover, slip cover, boom, 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 boom. Like I said, Paul T. Taylor does a good job. So that's it. I think you should watch it. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of Hellraiser. Definitely check it out. I am going to get back to playing with this little tiny thing I found. A little puzzle box. I hear it's cool if you open it. So, good day. Oh, it's opening. It's getting brighter in here. Oh. Hey!